Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Business Brunch. And we are here for 30 minutes of continuous professional development. So 30 minutes of some kind of quick learning whilst you have your lunch, your brunch, your breakfast, whatever it is you're doing. But welcome to the Business Brunch. I'm going to tell you in a little minute what we're going to be talking about today. But before I do that, please do say hello in the comments. As always, you aren't alone. We are going live to about 11, I think, different channels. So you might not see anyone else saying hello, but I'm sure you won't be on your own. So do say hello. Tell us where you're from. Tell us if you're enjoying the sunshine today, and then we'll say hello to you. Whilst you do that, and I can see that people are popping in there already. I'll tell you what today's topic is, and then we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll get straight into it once we said hello to you. So today is all about change and inspiring inspiration. And when you're trying to bring change at home, at work, and you meet resistance because people are used to doing things their way. We've always done it this way, they cry. So the question that we're going to put towards Melinda, who is our subject matter expert today, is how can we break through this and bring change with as little resistance as possible? Because it's tough out there. So let's first then hear who is Melinda. Melinda, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Melinda Ward, and I am the Director of Consulting Solutions and Managed Services for Helm 360. And I have a background in doing business transformation and technical transformation, business change for more than 25 years, although I can't possibly be that old.
Can't possibly be that.
You started when you were 3, honestly.
But it's a niche. Right. But the thing is that even though I've been in a very specific industry doing that, the principles of what works translates to life, translates to every industry, because the concerns are the same. So the way we have to deal with them is the same. And it's something that both Vanessa has experience with, and Sarah, who's next on the introduction list, also has good experience with.
Go on, Sarah, tell us who you are and why do you have experience with this?
Oh, why? Well, because I'm human, for a start, and change happens all the time. So if it doesn't, we are, as you say, Vanessa, we're not stuck, we're going backwards. But yeah, change happens. But I'm an executive coach. I work with senior leaders, C-suite, senior leadership teams, helping them develop the mindset and skills to handle change, to grow, and to be the best version of themselves so they can achieve incredible results. But yeah, we've all got stories to tell. I'd be really interested to hear as well in the chat if anyone has been through a recent change and met resistance and how that felt, because it's a horrible feeling, isn't it? But who are you, Vanessa?
Who am I? Well, today I look like I'm representing Rivington. Can you
see? Yeah, you do.
Yeah. We've got a little exhibition about it's called It's Mental Live. It's about well-being. So I just had this delivered. But I'm a marketer and I'm available. I'm looking for my next opportunity in B2B marketing at the moment. But yes, I've got my Rivington volunteering hat on today.
Should we say a quick hello to who's in? David's in. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us. And we have got Yogesh. Nice to meet you, Yogesh. I don't think you've been on before, so thank you for joining us. Good morning to you. Let us know where you are in the world as well. Danny's in. Hey, Danny, you in your shed quarters, I hope. Andy's in the kitchen, or at least he was, because he's made a tvung sandwich. It's a plant-based chicken. Very good. Very good. And Mechi's joined us this week as well. Hi, Mechi. He's in Wellingborough, Northampton. Yes, enjoying the sunshine. Oh, I know. It was light. I found myself sounding like a nana yesterday. I went, oh, it's light. It's 4:45. Then I thought, oh, be quiet. You're too old. But yeah, it's nice to have some sunshine. But shall we get into it?
Crack on.
Absolutely. So I think we've all been in the position where we've been starting off a project, whether it's with our company, a new role, whether it's a new role or a project with the client or something, or even at home, you want to try something different. Things could be improved, let's say. So the challenge is sometimes most tricky when things are okay, but could be better. It's like when things are dreadful, people are always going to be more interested in change. But when things are ticking over, how do you get people to be innovative? How do you get people to on the bandwagon for change? And a lot of this is really down to, doesn't matter how great the ideas are, it's how we package them and how we present them and how we talk to people about the change, and having people feel informed and feel that their concerns are being heard. Okay, so I usually start this kind of a conversation with some examples. And so I would say a typical example that I've had in life is going into a very large, like one of the top global law firms in the world, sitting down with the team who's implementing their new business practice system and saying, right, how should we start this design? How do you want it to look? Oh, well, we have to make it look exactly like the old system. Oh. Why? Oh, because that's what the partners want. Now, the thing is, these people think they know what the partners want, but they don't actually know what the partners want, because if you think about it, the partners wouldn't have signed up to a multi-million-dollar project if they didn't want some change. Just saying.
A lot of money to spend to have the same thing, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't make huge business sense. And it's interesting where you immediately, I'm thinking when you say that, there's a fear in their brain, isn't it? That middleman, middle woman, middle person.
They don't want to get blamed if something goes wrong.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They've got this comfort level right now, and if they feel that their comfort balance that they have is going to tip, that's not a comfortable feeling. But the thing is that people forget is that they always assume that the comfort balance might tip in the negative direction. But what if it tips in the positive direction?
What if?
But our instinct is to think, oh my God, crisis, change, stay safe, don't change.
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? It's the staying safe.
Yeah.
Because they know what happens, or they think they know what happens if they always do what they've always done. But we know that's not the case, isn't it?
The familiarity piece is really key, isn't it? And just as this is nothing to do with business, but when recently I've had to change something. So I've been going to the same gym for 20 years. It's never been very good. It's always had rubbish machines in it. They're probably as old as I am, the machines are. But it closed down to refurb, and it hasn't reopened yet. So I was forced to change, to go to a better gym. I'm loving it, seeing results. But that transition of about 4 weeks of like, I don't want to go to the new gym, I want to go to the old gym. And now I wouldn't want to go back to the old gym. But it just even the smallest change, the most insignificant thing sets off this, I don't want to, I'm in denial type feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're creatures of habit.
Oh, yeah.
And we're creatures of habit, especially, it seems, in work, but also professionally or personally, I should say. Yeah. But I think one of the things when we're addressing change, and this is something you can do with, a trusted person as well as in a project team. So don't think this is strictly work related, but it's really good to start asking the question when you're interested in making some kind of a change, is defining, what are you trying to achieve, right? Because having that clarity will allow you to then give valid analysis to the risks and the benefits. And when I'm thinking about my project example, where you're starting off and they're saying, oh, the partners won't be happy with this. It's like, all right, well, what are the challenges you are facing now? Kind of, what are you hoping could be easier? And like identifying quick wins is one thing, but that's detail. What's the bigger picture? What are we trying to accomplish here? And if that is something where you're going to make business more efficient, we're going to, fix this project or this process. What are you trying to achieve in that process? And how are you doing it now? And once you realize that people are going from A to B, not in a straight line, but in this rather circular fashion, usually it's because there's some historical blocker that made them not take the direct path.
Yeah.
So understanding where you're trying to go, not worried about how you're going to get there yet, but where are you trying to go? Let's define that. Then you can think about, okay, is the way that we've been getting there, the as is process, the most efficient way possible? And the answer is often no. So that's just something that having that vision of what exactly are you trying to achieve? Then what are our options for getting there? And if you have the options, the way we've always done it, and then let's look at a few others. And that's where getting people to participate in that discussion helps to build buy-in. It helps to build engagement. And also in that discussion, when you're saying, well, we could go A to B like this, but we could go like this, or we could go straight across. What are the risks of each? And the people who are most resistant are the best people to talk to. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people doing is saying, oh, we're putting a project team together. That person's going to be really negative. So we'll just update them at the end. We don't want to. Worst decision ever.
Yeah.
Everybody in the organization, just like everybody in a family, knows who the difficult person's going to be. If you can get that difficult person on board, if you can get their buy-in and listen to their arguments, some of which will be pretty absurd, some of which may be valid because they actually do know what they're talking about. If everybody else sees them on board, they'll be on board.
Can I just chip in? So there's people that come and say hello to them, and there's some thoughts coming as well. So Thomas is coming. Good afternoon from Bolton. Michelle's joined us well from Hertfordshire. Alan Dunbar's in. Hello, Alan. Interesting comment from Thomas. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Save money and time. Yes,
that's a philosophy. But the challenge is you're actually potentially falling behind and potentially losing money. So you have to examine. But I think the comment was more, this is what people often think.
So if you, it's making sure that you are looking at that with open eyes and not being
exactly. You have to be objective about it.
Is it a fear response or is it a genuine question? Is it good enough? Do we need to change it or not? And Mechi, are we hardwired to resist change? Yes, we are. We're hardwired to recognize threat. Yes. And change represents a threat to most people in most instances. But how long we stay in that threat state for depends on how big the threat is. But yes, it is a hardwired thing. And Andy said, I think embracing change is an exercise in reframing as much as anything else. It is. And this made me think, Melinda, when you were talking about, giving people an opportunity to talk. One of the biggest things that leaders forget when they're trying to help people change, grow, do something is empathy. We need to listen. We need to ask them what they're worried about, let it out. And most leaders are scared of asking that question because they're worried about what the response is going to be. But actually, we've got to manage that fear as leaders and be empathetic. So yes, reframing. Hold on, I've lost my thread here. Ricardo is in. Good morning, Ricardo. How are you? Andy, exactly as Minna said, understand your objectives and your obligations and plan your way. If you can use old habits, that's fine, but let the habits serve the goals. Yeah, good.
100%.
Schools need change. Yes, they do. They need to change their policies in assisting children with their mental health. Oh, there's so many changes that need. Yes. Don't start me on schools. I'm actually no difficult people, only behaviors. Good point. We find difficult to respond to for various reasons. Yeah, we often assume, don't we, that the difficult person is a difficult person, but actually it's the behaviors that we're uncomfortable with. Yeah. I'm getting there. I'm going fast. Please add me to your meeting. You're in.
Oh, you're in. Hello, welcome.
£500. Just kidding. Oh, yes. Suicide prevention fundraising, charity agreed. There's so much we can learn about general life skills at a young age. Goodness, we're good. Busy. And David says the really good points. You also need to realize you won't always be able to bring all the people with you. There will always be some that resist. The will. Good point.
Yeah. And the thing about that resistance is in my travels, what I've discovered on most projects is the quote difficult person or the resistant person is often resistant because they feel that they're losing their authority within the organization if there is change. Because these people are the experts. They are the go-to people currently in their organization. They're the one who's been there the longest. They might not be the oldest, but they're the one with the biggest depth of experience. So if you're all of a sudden yanking the carpet out from underneath them, taking away their authority, taking away their effectively, comfort zone within the organization and their position as the go-to person, holding them off until the very end is just reinforcing that risk is real, and it's reinforcing their threat and danger levels. So bringing that person in early stages, will you always have like a big miraculous win and it's like the television renovation shows or home renovation shows where it's like it looks like chaos and then it's beautiful? No. But that insight and that information from those individuals, to get them on board early, to get them to be the early adopter, to get them involved with the initial testing, will bring up so much challenge, in the way of challenges and issues that you might have missed otherwise. Sure, some of them you're going to say, you're just going to kind of read the complaint or the issue and kind of roll your eyes and say, okay, here we go again. But it's also an insight into how that person's thinking. So even if it's not an actual problem, you can form a picture of where this person's head is and how to manage their fear of change and how to manage their concerns. On the constructive side, if they bring good points, get them involved early, get them in doing, testing out the new process or procedure, giving that feedback, being the leader, keep their authority position in place. So if they are the go-to person now, keep them as the go-to person, but give them that opportunity to get involved early so that they can be confident they can have the answers when they need to have the answers. So we've had a few more comments come in.
Yeah, we have. So there's an interesting chat going on about suicide prevention in schools. I'm not going to bring that up because I'm not sure I don't know if it's relevant to this, but it's a really interesting.
Not directly, yeah.
Michelle, keep asking questions and people keep talking to Michelle because there's some good stuff going on there. And David says this is true, or they actually know things. You can see there is something missing in the requirements applications. It's so important to consult widely and actually listen. Yeah. Then to communicate the findings. Totally agree, Melinda.
And the key to that, there's a very key word there, and that's listening, and listening to learn, not to just respond. And that's where in these kind of discussions with people, a lot of times people are pre-wired to start thinking about, oh, this person's raised a concern, I don't want to deal with it, so I'm already going to be thinking about why their concern is not valid. And
which
how
is everything to do with their mindset, isn't it? So you're talking about managing your own mindset first. So you're in a fear response, a threat state when we're going in to challenge that person who we think is going to be challenging.
Exactly. So
using the word challenge.
Being open enough and aware enough of your own reactions to be able to say, oh, tell me what's worrying you about this change. And then they start on their dialogue. I find it's really helpful to write things down. And I don't mean on a keyboard, I mean actual old school paper and pen. Because it makes you look, it helps you connect with the conversation and disconnect a bit from the emotions of it by writing it down. But then also you can ask more questions. If someone says, oh, I'm worried that the law firm's partners are not going to like this. Okay, well, why do you think that? What historically has led you to that conclusion? And if they say, oh, well, the last time when we put this system in 10 years ago, it was carnage and it was awful and nobody was happy with it because it was just sprung on them and blah, blah, blah. Key point there. You've just learned that the previous implementation of change was not managed well, and that caused problems. So how can you allay those fears and allay that? Well, we've got a proactive, we've got a change manager. We're going to be doing effective communication and training. So people aren't going to feel like they're being thrown under the bus. Do you think that will resolve your issue? Yes, it will. Great conversation. So you've learned something.
I think when I've
your sound's gone funny again. Your sound's gone all funny.
Should I stop?
That's right. Try it. Go for it.
Okay, I was thinking when you can start a new role, if you're being brought in to bring change, what the people haven't been told.
Yeah, it's not working. We just about caught it, but
I think.
Sorry, could I just bring this back in because this is very much about change, isn't it? There's something. First of all, Michelle, so sorry to see this. Your son took his own life, and you've been championing this change, trying to give it away for free, and they won't take it. People are just so resistant, aren't they? Even when something horrific has happened, this denial to change is incredible, absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. True. Trustee Weil, yes, he's backing up your paper and pen. Fantastic reminders, Melinda. Sorry, Melinda, I think you were going to cover what Vanessa was just saying.
Yes, Vanessa was talking about, or trying to talk about before her microphone started misbehaving. She was talking about being brought in as a new leader in an organization and being brought in to improve things, but all of the people in the organization weren't clued up on this. So when Vanessa came in and was like, right, I've got some great ideas, let's go, everybody's just like, who's this person and why are they upsetting my apple cart? I like my apple cart. It's a nice apple cart. My apples are shiny. I don't need change. So that's a trick too. If you're bringing new people into your organization, whether as a consultant or as new hires, if the folks that they're going to be responsible for aren't clear on why this is happening and what the objectives are for this person, then they're just going to be like, who she thinks she is. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know my job. She doesn't know my concerns. How dare you think that you can come in here on your high horse and tell me what to do? And being in the consulting space for a whole lot of years, this is standard, right? So it's always tricky to be talking to people and say, oh, I've just started. Tell me a bit about you. Tell me a bit about the challenges you're facing. Tell me a bit about this before even getting into me, because you can't have that conversation with someone who's already got the walls up until you get behind the wall.
Yeah.
So putting your own ego aside, putting your own objectives aside for a moment, not permanently, just slightly to the side and back a little bit, and focusing on getting to know the individuals in the project team or in the department, whatever it is, the situation, learning about them, learning about their concerns, learning about what is making them nervous about you joining, perhaps, or about this project starting as a more neutral one. And once we learn more about that, a lot of times people see, oh, there's a new bit of software coming in, a new organization structure coming in, a new process coming in. My job must be at risk.
Yeah.
And that, especially in these days, is a legit concern. Although in this situation, it may be an unfounded concern. So having that conversation and learning about those things can help you pitch your messaging in a way that will be better received by the group.
This is
comments, I think.
Yeah, really interesting. James, thanks for joining us again today. So what I see here is, James has persisted. I'm not saying Michelle isn't persisting, by the way, you clearly are, but sometimes getting change is so hard, it can take a lot of time. But I think what you also just said about, dropping the ego, dropping your own intent behind it and really listening and understanding to what the concerns are and what people are trying to achieve. And then it's almost like a sales process, isn't it? It's then how can I solve that problem for you together? But well done, James, and thanks for sharing that. We've also got Alan, wow, it's the case of not invented here. In other words, it hasn't been directed by the Education Authority. Yeah, so he's responding to Michelle's conversation about not being able to get this education into schools, which, having got young children in schools, my goodness, is it essential.
And I think with the nature of the school thing, there can also be it won't happen here kind of mentality, like, well, that would never happen in our school until it does. Well, so, and the same thing is true in business as well. You get both the resistance to change, but also that, well, that's everybody else's problem. It's not our problem. We don't want to deal with that. If we don't mention it, it doesn't exist, it's kind of a throwback to the old challenge in schools of education on reproductive systems. Oh, well, if we tell kids about it, they're going to go off and do it. But actually, it's the converse, isn't it? Where if we tell kids about it, they are less likely to do it because they've got more tools to deal with the situation.
Allegedly. I'm just going to go to Andy's here, just to allege. Andy's comment sees resistance to change in his day job, and he's really commenting about this, keeping your ego calm. I've got to go to, I can't see it all. It's something that he's worked on very hard himself, takes a little practice. It really does, because we're having this reaction ourselves. One big step is calming the ego, having faith and belief in yourself. Absolutely is. When you know yourself better and you know what's triggering you, it's much easier to stay calm, because actually it's the fear of what's going to happen, not what you've got to say and what you've got to do. Very good. So what are your, I'm just going to jump in because I know Vanessa can't speak without going, what are your, we're about to run out of time, top 3 tips?
I'll give questions, right? And these are good questions to ask. And I'm going to look at my notes just so I don't forget anything in this short time. What are you trying to achieve is one of the key questions. And what are the options for achieving it? Because there's always more than one way, just about always. But also, what are the benefits and risks? And listening to the answers around the risks, especially, is key, not only for learning the risks themselves and being able to mitigate them, but also for engagement with the audience and with the people who are going to be subjected to this program of change. And then another thing that I like to think about, and because it helps to de-risk things actually, is what is the worst that could happen? And when you're innovating and when you're pushing like really a strong change, there are times when it will go wrong, because part of innovation is failure. That's a normal cycle. You can't have everything perfect all the time. So the question is not what if it goes wrong, but it's how do you deal with it if it goes wrong? Do you have a plan B, and can you get there gracefully? Because that helps to de-risk, how everybody's feeling. If you say, you know what, we think this is going to work. We're going to flip over to this new process, this new system on Monday. If it all goes pear-shaped, we've got a fallback plan. We can go back to the old procedure. We can learn what we've learned and try again. And that permission to fail, for good reason, obviously, not just for slacking off, is also key to being successful at bringing innovation and change to your life and your business.
Absolutely. So Amechi said, do we need to rebrand change? Yeah, it's funny how the word can elicit a threat response. I think people are quite savvy that transition and transformation mean change as well. So to be honest, it isn't really the word and it's on its own. It's the
thing.
It's the feeling of we're going to do something new and different. But yeah, how the name you put on it does matter for sure. Empathy is absolutely key, understanding why people are upset. And because Vanessa can't speak, she's now gone on here. It's almost easier for big change because there's a lot of communication. It's the small changes that also meet resistance that might be more tricky. It is things like going into a new job, being that new person in the new senior leadership team might seem really small, but boy, is it scary. And it's scaring everyone else, because what if you're better? What if you're this? What if you're that? So there's so much need to understand this and manage your own emotions. We are out of time, but I want to say massive thank you to Melinda for sharing that with us. And thank you to everybody for joining in, and for Vanessa staying so quiet. We'll try and get the mic sorted for next time, but we have a guest next week, don't we?
We do.
I think we do.
Odessa Sherrod.
Well done. Odessa Sherrod is coming in. So look forward to seeing our guest next week. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you for all your comments.
Thank you, everybody.
Great to have you on board, and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah.
And one final comment before we go from Andy. I think just take the fear out of the word failure. Failure is a consequence of improvement, but it's only transitioning where improvements last longer. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I don't think there's no failures, learning in action. And boy, am I doing a lot of that, aren't we all? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Share with your friends and invite them to the next week's show if you've enjoyed this show.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks a
See you
lot.
next week.
Bye-bye.